Hey guys, welcome. My name is George Nasser. I'm going to show you how to create a toolpath for a rotary axis. So a lot of times you like to do milling instead of 3D printing. So you want to be able to actually send it to the machine. You got to do an MG code. So let me show you how to go over some of the things. So I'm just going to go create a simple model. I'm going to go to the rotary axis and just right here, pick any size. It's just for the demo only. Okay. So let's get size 10. And I'm going to show you how to create the actual rotary axis uh, toolpath. Okay. So let's create just a simple ring by clicking a box here. We're going to go outside. Doesn't matter the width. Okay. F9 to center. F12 to bring the shape editor. And we're going to give this a 2 millimeter height. This is just for the demo. Okay. And apply and cancel. And we're going to look at what we just created. All right, so these are from the old project right there. All right, so we're going to get rid of these. So let's get rid of these. We're going to get rid of this, okay? So now we only have the actual wedding band. So we want to send this to a milling machine. So you have to create a toolpath, okay? So to create a toolpath, you have to know the model and the make of your actual mill. So we're going to select it from the actual, we're going to be working here, okay? You see here this toolpath? It's in this area here. So we're going to double click. So first you would have to create what is called a template. So if you have a template already created, it's very easy. If not, you could just select it as you go. And a lot of times, a lot of the programs have pre-made templates. So let's say we open the actual the toolpath. So what I do is when I select it here, I'm going to open the toolpath. Um, let's open this guy here. You can see like a whole bunch of milling. You could select them here. Like that's why if you don't have it, you could select them. It depends on the actual drill bit or the shape of it, what angle and so forth. So a lot of people use this yellow and blue. Depends how wide you want the tip is. So let's select yellow and I say okay. So when this is selected right there, so you can move this here, you could adjust it. So you could use the open button, right? Right here, I use the roll-in machine, okay? So if you notice, I already have it assigned as rolling ring toolpath and rolling flat. Okay, so I'm gonna select the rolling ring. So it's gonna drop it right here for me. So you wanna make sure this is open. But before you do that, it's very important that you don't want this vector to be outside because we're gonna select vector only versus the whole relief. We don't want the mill to be running all this empty spots here before it reaches the actual model because it's going to mill, it's going to work its way up and down, up and down. That will take forever. So we want to only to mill the actual model. So we want to go outside the model about 2 millimeters or so. So I'm going to draw another box outside. I'm going to go a corner from this point here. So make sure it's even. Not outside the white or inside the white. Because if you go inside the white, you're going to miss the model. If you go outside, you only mill in just the air. There's nothing to mill. So make sure you try to get as close as you can to the actual box here. And you bring it here. Okay, you go all the way out. Make sure you're outside the model. Okay, and you make sure this is centered, F9. So if you want to check, you see how that's inside the model. So we're going to press N for node and want to bring it out so it's even with the model. Okay, it's very important you do that. Otherwise, you'll be milling nothing. Okay, you'll be missing some of part of the model. So it's important to do that. If you want to go outside a little bit, that's okay. We'll be like doing empty, like we'll just run before it drops on the actual model. So now we're going to select the actual vector. That's important because we don't want the whole relief, and I'm going to show you why. So when we select this here, I'm going to double click it. In reality, a lot of times when you select it, I'll show you where you can select the actual machine that you made or the machine that you have. I'm sorry. So these are your models here. You notice I picked the yellow, and these you could select the tools again. You could go back to the tools and select it, right? So I already selected that. So I pre-made my actual toolpath. So these are the models here. If you see in here, it says you want the whole relief. I don't want to mill the whole relief. That's too much work. And I just want to select the vector, which is, I'm going to select it right now. So you could change these, the step over. You could go, I usually keep it at 0.03 and 90-degree angle. And the tolerance, the lower the tolerance, the cleaner the model. But really in wax, I clean it after. I do it by hand for much faster. So that's going to take longer machine time to do a less tolerance. That means it's gonna be very smooth. So this number is pretty good number. Okay. So I'm happy with all these numbers. They're pretty much they're already pre-done for you. So the select vector, make sure that's selected. So I'm going to show you how it's going to work. So when I say calculate now, not later, and you can give it a name here. Let's call this YouTube, okay? So I'm going to calculate now, and you're going to notice it's going to do it. It's going to do the toolpath nice and clean, okay? So now this is our toolpath. Now that's created. We're going to send it to the actual mill. All right, so we're going to close this. So we have the toolpath here. It's already created. So I'm going to show you how you shut this toolpath off, okay? So I'm going to shut this toolpath off. So by going here, you'll be able to read to see all these things here. So you could just the conical here, apply. You could shut her off. You could turn it back on, or you could actually shut her off here and turn it back on. Okay, let's open this up a little bit. You could move it, right? So let's park this here. So these are your options here. You could on and off, but this is you want that tool, that toolpath is on. So I'm gonna select it. You can see it's right here. Selected the actual tip or the drill bit. Okay. So I'm going to select this here, and I'm going to say save this model, okay? So if you notice right here, now I'm going to name it. You could, depends on your machine, and this is where you select your machine type, see? Now, I used to use Model Master. Before, if you have Model Master, you go down to Model Master, and you want Model Master Rotary, right? So let's go to Model Master. But I'm not using Model Master anymore. I'm using Roland. Okay, so this is model master. You don't want, depends on your machine, but this is for the flat model, model master 3-axis flat. That's if you're making flat models, and you want 4-axis rotary. Okay, it depends unless you have a 3-axis. So those are the two. These ones here, this particular one, that's if you have an automatic tool setter and stuff like that. This is the indexer. This is if you want to flip the model. Okay, the this is, again, it does it automatically. This one here will just flip it automatically 180 degrees. So that's if you're making a flat model, okay? Or if you're making like a ring, you want to do a 3-sided model. But this is for the flat. I've used this, and these two. That's it for the model math. I'm sorry, this one, the 3-axis and the 4-axis, because my machine was 4-axis rotary. But where I use Roland right now, okay, which is a lot of people don't show you this. I barely use the indexer. I use the Roland JWX rotary. And for the actual flat model, I use the Roland roll right here. Okay. But so for now, I'm making a ring. So I'm going to go just do the actual rotary right here. So you can see it selected it. And you name the model. And you select, you could browse, and you could decide where you want to put the model. So create a folder where you want to save that model. Okay. So that's it. You're pretty much all done. Now, all you have to do is go to your folder where your machine is hooked up, and load that actual model. Okay. Once you load it, then the machine should run perfectly, and that's how you create a toolpath. Okay. It's very important. That's strictly for milling. Okay. Now, if you want to do a 3D printing, so let's say you shut this before you need to add this to the actual model. So let's go back. Usually when we add it, we go to this here to create triangle mesh. It's very important. So we're gonna create the triangle mesh. So let's call this YouTube. Most 3D models have to be STL files. They cannot be different type of file for milling. Has to be STL. So let's go here. You have 3 STL files here. All right. So now you have this. So you could send them all to the machine. You could actually send them all as one file, or you could send one at a time. So if you go to the assembly, I could shut all these models, and I want to leave just YouTube, right? That's the one here. So a lot of times, most 3D printers, they actually create their own thing, but on this particular one, I believe I didn't do it much, but you are capable to do it here. You could create your own actually 3D printer structure. But most 3D printers, they do come with the actual program that will load all the structures for you. But this one here, it does. So if you actually select the 3D, you can select which one you want. You create supports and so forth, and that will create the actual supports for you. And that's the power of this particular program. It's really nice. You could add your own supports. But as I said, I like the machine. You can see how we'll put some in there for you. And you could actually send this. So now you want to export this actual model. You could change them, you could modify them, and so forth. But you could actually send this particular model. You can select on the assembly, right click, and export. Once you export it, you notice it says STL, and you can name this YouTube. Okay, and it has to be only STL to be able to print this on any printer, pretty much. But that's how simple it is to actually send it to a machine by right clicking on the assembly. You cannot do it on the model. Okay, you could import a model in STL from either or. So for example, I'm gonna bring, this is an STL model, right? So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna shut this down, and I'm gonna go back to this particular one here, right click, and I want to import it. So I could go to any STL files. Let me see here, STL. So when I go desktop, okay, so we're gonna open a file. So let's say you bring this file in. So you can import any file you want from any program. You can see this one here. So let's shut down these actual, you can see it dropped all these supports. Let's get rid of them. But this is the model. It brought this model in from another program like Rhino, Rhino Gold, Matrix Gold, and Matrix or 3D. I mean, there's so many programs out there. I can't keep up anymore. But you can bring in any models. If you want to bring in another model, all you do right click, import, and let's bring in this one. So you can create it in a different program and bring it in, and you can work on it. Yeah, there you go. So it's the band. So now you have different styles. Okay, I hope you enjoy this. Please leave a lot of comments and let me know if that's very helpful. If there's anything I could help you with, don't hesitate to ask. And thank you for watching.